Welcome to the Lifeline, a production of Simply BJE. The goal of this podcast is to build, inspire, and to empower our listeners through conversations on business, leadership, and mental health. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline. Now, let's tune in for today's episode. Top of the day, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this season premiere of The Lifeline. We're your hosts, life strategist and entrepreneur Bo Powell, and social media influencer and owner of the For Real brand Lindsberg Petway, and yours truly, leadership consultant and mental health advocate Barry J. Elliott. You can visit us at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline and on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and now on YouTube. Well, fellas, welcome back. We have had a 2-month break.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are
Man,
you guys
2
today?
months. Wow.
2 months. It's been 2 whole months.
Wow.
Yeah. And it flew by.
Flew by. Yes, it did.
Flew by. Yeah. So how was your break, number one?
Break was busy.
So in other words,
Break.
it wasn't really a break.
I mean, we're always working even when we're not at work. So it was good. We got the boys settled into school, back to Oakland, and then started the new year at the new university and the new high school. So it's been pretty busy. That's all, man. Yeah.
Okay. Bo, how about you?
Been good, man. Just working, man. No complaints whatsoever, man. So just excited about all the good things that are happening and are coming.
Awesome.
So just taking it one day at a time, man.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that.
I think I kind of missed you guys a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Without question.
You can just say, I missed you. No, kinda.
Right.
I missed you, dog.
Absolutely. It
Yeah,
wasn't
just
insane.
Just
Just a little bit.
Because we had a routine. You got to think about the routine that you have every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And once we got out of it, the first week was a break, no doubt. But then it was like, dang, where my boys at? So,
But what the viewers don't know is our feed, our group chat stays on.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it never stops.
yeah. So, yeah. How was the conference?
Man, it went well. It was great. Originally, we wanted like 50 to 75 people, but we had maybe 30 that registered. So I was in the gym one day working out, and the Lord just kind of gave me a vision. So we have a big foyer, and so we moved it to the foyer and just set up tables. That was the vision He gave me, and man, it was great. We had people that came from Delaware, South Carolina, where else? Delaware, South Carolina, and somewhere else I can't think of at the moment. But we had a great session. People were still talking about how they were impacted, and people already talking about next year, and so it was great, man. It gave me a push, and
Right.
so I'm grateful for that. It was life changing. It was a game changer. Most importantly, though, lives are impacted. So
Right.
that was the most important thing, because
Great.
I told the Lord that I'm not trying to be the next TD Jakes. I'm not trying to be the next Noel Jones. I just want to be impactful. That's really my goal in life. I just want to be impactful, do what I was born to do, and do what David did in Acts 13:36. After he'd done the will of God, fall asleep. That's really my objective. Get my job done and hit the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
If
like
there's any,
everybody else we know.
if Lindsberg, if there's any consolation to you, he didn't return my call either, bro. So
Oh yeah, okay.
My gosh.
Busy
here we
with the
go.
conference. We're gonna chalk it up as that.
yeah, I was calling to see how it went, but I got to hear about it this morning.
Yeah. We're gonna chalk it up as he was busy with the conference.
Oh man. Here we go.
Gentlemen, it's been a
Did
busy,
you?
busy couple weeks in the news,
To say the least.
to say the
Yeah.
least. Before we dive into this conversation about Charlie Kirk, did you know anything about him or his organization, Turning Point USA, before his death? I mean, I really didn't. The day that it happened, just to share my experience, one of my coworkers mentioned what had happened. And I was like, who? No disrespect. I mean, I was like, who?
Look who.
And he was like, Charlie Kirk. I was like, who is Charlie Kirk? And the YouTuber or the podcaster. That's the first thing he said was the podcaster. So then when I looked it up, Of course, I saw what happened, and it was a terrible scenario.
Hmm.
But then I guess the avalanche of news, of his clips, of his views started to dominate social media timelines. And then that's when I had the opportunity to get to know him through those. So, with that being said, gentlemen, did you know anything about the Turning Point USA? Because I have never heard of that until after his death.
Capital N, capital O. No,
Okay.
I knew nothing about Charlie Kirk until the day of his death.
I didn't either. I didn't know anything about him until then. Um, I mean, that's I mean, I don't know. It just didn't come across my radar until then
Right.
of who he was. I think I may have seen him before,
Yeah.
just through the
The
because we just
feature.
had a
Yeah.
election.
Hmm.
Um, I remember he was involved in that, but I didn't really know who he was. I didn't really look into him.
Yeah. After I saw his face, then I remember maybe some things popping up on my feed, a couple conversations in like town hall meetings, that setting. Um, but what has happened in the United States of America the last week and a half, 2 weeks since his death has been very, I would say, telling of, sometimes people have feelings that they never let you know to the right time. And it seems like these feelings are starting to rise up out of people. And we saw that with the first uh, president term of Donald Trump and now this second one. So some of the things that I'm hearing about Mr. Kirk aren't very holy, if I can say holy. Because there's a difference between being holy and being a Christian, in my opinion. So just some of the things that I'm hearing, some of the views. And I'll just say this. I mean, at the foundation of who we serve, which is God, the foundation is love. I think that is one of the most important things that we have to stand upon. So, with that being said, some of the things I'm hearing about him being a martyr, or Christian martyr, or um, putting statues up on every college campus and petitioning for a day off. I mean, it's ridiculous in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I mean, for me, um, I want to do my due diligence to really understand what all the ruckus was about.
Mhm.
Um, because I thought it was also horrific when I saw it. I think what was worse for me is to see the response of a lot of people. I made a post on social media. Um, I didn't know the guy, um, but the fact that people were responding the way they did is celebratory.
Mhm.
Um, just justifying for that to happen. I thought that was sad because many of those people are believers.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to resist the urge to say I thought they were because I don't know what's in someone's heart. I mean, we're human.
Right.
So, but the response that I saw, to me, that was ridiculous in and of itself. But it forced me to look into it because I wanted to give this guy just due.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. I said, let me see what's up. Because one of the things I realized, and I think we had this conversation before, Barry, maybe about a year or so ago on Instagram, we've shared some videos about deep fakes and, this how things can be misconstrued, this
Yeah.
soundbite culture.
Yeah.
It's easy for somebody to share a clip on you and a whole narrative can be created. So I said, let me look into it. And, I understood and understand why the polarization is at play. Um, whether I agree with it or not, I understand it. And for me, I think that's the challenge that a lot of people are having is nobody really wants to have a conversation about it. Everybody's just kind of caught up in their feelings. They've kind of taken a few little sound bites and kind of ran with it. And before just getting a thorough understanding of the situation and even who he was and who he was all about. So, it's a little scary, like you said. I think it's ridiculous. You know, I'm gonna kind of cut it off there so you can respond, Bear. I know you're biting at the bits.
Right.
So,
So,
so the first thing I was just thinking about, the scripture talks about how when you gloat in somebody else's downfall or the demise, that it infuriates God. And
absolutely.
I'm summarizing. So, you know, just as a
Proverbs.
believer, Proverbs. So
Mhm.
fundamentally, as a believer, we should not want to see the harm of anybody else. Even though sometimes that's hard. It's like sometimes you want to pray, Lord, get them, get that one, right?
Mhm.
But fundamentally, who we are, we should not be seeking the harm or celebrating the harm of any man. The one thing I was thinking about that I was 44 when 43 actually. No, I was 44 when my father passed away. And so I couldn't imagine being 4 or 3
Right.
and having to survive life or live life not having my father. And both of you, your fathers are deceased as well. You know how it impacted you in your different ways. So I can't imagine being without my father at such a young age. So I think there's that issue. Yet, I think in our discussion of all of this, we cannot diminish why there is such social unrest, or should I say, why there is so in the Black community, why people are up in arms. Now, I'm not justifying anybody saying the man should die or should be dead or what have you, but I think it has been a domino effect. So I think it's compounded and it's complex. So I think dealing with the complexity of the African American relationship with America, I think that is the thing that makes this a bit, it's not it's not black or white, no pun intended. It's layered. It's a layered conversation. And because I'm still researching Charlie Kirk, so I can't really make a fair assessment of him. But I do know that I think that is important that on both sides, that we give people the space to feel what we feel and not discredit what we feel, because what we feel is what we feel. And so, as you said, Bo, you talked about conversation. I think that's one of the things that is really an issue today is that there's a lack of conversation. Interestingly enough, the president, when he came into the office, he said that one of his platforms was free speech. But I believe that his platform was free speech was as long as your free speech was congruent or favorable of him and his ideologies. And so I think that even with Jimmy Kimmel being canceled, but he's coming back, even with Jimmy Kimmel being canceled, I think that is a it is emblematic of a culture where we don't value conversation. The interesting thing is that conversation builds community. So where there is no conversation, there can be no community. So where there is no community, there is chaos. And so that's where we are now. So I can't really speak to who Charlie Kirk was now. Do I believe he was a martyr? No. I don't believe he was a martyr, in the sense of a Paul or a Peter, or I don't see that. I think we have a situation where people are at odds with one another, and it just got volatile. That's my stance. However, again, I can't really speak to Charlie Kirk. I know I don't necessarily get a good feeling, but again, I can't speak objectively because I have not finished researching. But I am almost 100% that he was nobody's martyr. And I was reading, or I heard this morning that he is the modern day John the Baptist. Well, okay,
Yeah.
amen.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'm gonna
I mean,
stop.
to me, to me, that's people are going to say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I
Because if
mean,
you,
I don't really get caught up in that.
Mhm.
I guess I've just reached a point in my life that, one of the things I've learned is I think one of the highest forms of respect and even love is to try to understand where people are coming
yeah,
from.
yeah,
Um, to me, I believe that is characteristic of being somebody who's of God. You know what I mean? Especially when you've had an opportunity to truly experience God's love. I can't say that throughout my Christian journey I really had a taste of it
mm,
until not long ago. But just even from a psychological standpoint, being that this is a podcast that speaks upon mental health, to me that is one of the bases of mental well-being is just being understood, giving somebody the respect to hear them out.
Yeah.
Um, so if you feel like he's a martyr, man, God bless you, bro. That's your opinion, or whatever the case may be. And I mean, I don't even know who designates that these times. We don't have a Nicaea council anymore. I mean, we don't have a unified church like that anymore. So I mean, to me, it's just all about who's got the power to be able to do something and make some things happen. And if you're someone who is opposed to that particular position, well, you may have to just suck it up and deal with it because the people who got the power to be able to push that out and push that narrative is probably going to make that happen. Um, but I think that the larger conversation for me was, um, which kind of goes to the next question of how we felt about the whole incident was, you know, for me, it was more about principle.
Mm.
Um, because I didn't really know Charlie Kirk to really, feel sadness to the level his friends may have felt, his family may have felt. Um, but there may be some leaders that I admire who may have polarizing ideas or ideologies or positions that they may hold. And for me, the principle was, well, if I can feel good, if I feel good about this guy getting killed the way he got killed just for expressing his ideologies, whether you felt they were rooted in hatred or whatever the case may be, who's to say a leader that I truly admire and I look up to and respect, and he gets on a platform and begin to share things that a group of people decide is um, not good or it's hateful or I'm offended by it, and they decide to take him out. I wouldn't feel good about that. And
Correct.
one of the things I realized is it's hard to hate up close. It's very hard to hate up close. And it's easy to hate from a distance. And until you really get to know someone, to me, it's sad how we tend to just kind of take things and run with it. For me, that's the higher principle. I
Yeah.
didn't have to know Charlie Kirk to feel a certain way about the situation because there's principles in there that I feel very strongly about. And I think we reserve the right to be able to disagree with someone or to be disagreeable even in our positions, but still have the right to live and exist.
Correct.
Whether you agree with me or not, you know what I mean? So that for me was the biggest part of that whole situation, was that, and I got into it. Some people came at me about, on my social media, which was cool. I respectfully, encourage the conversations and stuff like that. But I believe when we stand like what you mentioned as far as Proverbs, those are the scriptures I hung on. But there was nothing in me that I didn't have to think about that at that point.
Right.
It's just, I mean, one, I'm a believer. The second, I'm human.
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
and there's people I love that say dumb crap all the time. You just don't hear about it.
True
You
that.
know what I'm
True
saying?
that. True
I mean,
that.
I got some people in my life that say some dumb stuff,
True
right? That will
that.
be very offensive to probably a lot of people. I would hate for somebody to hear that and all of a sudden, on a smaller scale, if we're in a restaurant, he happen to say something and they happen to pull out a gun and blow his brains out.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to me, that's the bigger issue here is that when you talk about free speech, and it's been on both sides of it, but I think the side, if you really like a side more, you tend to see them more favorably than the side you don't like. When
Right.
you don't like somebody, you pick everything apart.
Bias.
Um, it's just bias,
Yeah.
and I understand that. I understand. I think, and after a while, and I'll kind of close it down here, but I think after a while, we just really have to rise above the fray,
Mhm.
and to begin to really view things from a higher perspective, and not feed into the frenzy, if you will. Because once
Yeah.
you start choosing sides, you become part of the divide.
Now, before Lynchburg, because I know he is over there about to keel over. He got so much
Oh
to say,
yeah, I know,
right?
right?
He about to
He up
keel
there
over.
rock. He
Look
up there
at
rocking.
he
Look at he
itching. He got
rocking.
so much he itching.
He over there rocking. He
But
got his phone out.
but I tell you what would be interesting though. I am interested to hear because I haven't really looked at it, but I want to hear what the Pope has to say because he
Mm.
seems to be very objective. So far, I like him, so I'd be curious to hear what he has to say because you brought up the how they canonize saints and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be curious to hear what his thoughts are. I'm gonna have to look that up. All right, Petway, go ahead, man. Before
No,
you go
I
ahead.
was just looking at the last assassination in the United States before Mr. Kirk, and it was state
Mhm.
representative Melissa. Um, and they did the distinction between assassination and murder. Now, the assassination um, of Martin Luther King many years ago, we can only imagine because we weren't there. Maybe Barry might have been a child.
Was Barry there?
Really?
I thought Barry was there.
But we weren't there. So you got to kind of imagine how the black community wept and how they
Y'all
felt.
cold, man. Y'all cold. Keep
Right.
talking. Y'all.
So you got to kind of imagine. That's why I was trying to compare something, based upon what we saw at the State Farm Arena and the whole scenario. What could we, what could we compare that to? And I would probably have to reach all the way back to MLK based upon the voice of a movement, right? Based upon the face of a movement, based upon a person doing, saying, and being visible for me because I can't do it because I got to go to work or I got to do these other things. Or in this case, I can't really voice these opinions because my coworkers are different than me or my people around me will look at me differently. So that's kind of the magnitude that Mr. Kirk had. I think the death was appalling. I don't think
Absolutely.
anyone should be murdered or any type of person should be shot. So let's start there. And like Bo said, to try to celebrate someone getting what they deserve is not the foundation of being a Christian. And I say that because I look at society now, there is cultural Christianity and then there's biblical Christianity. Cultural Christianity, I see people pulling the necessary scriptures out to validate what they do, how they do it, and they turn it. But the word is sharper than a two-edged sword. So if I'm gonna stab you, I'm gonna cut myself at the same time because you got to understand, each day we wake up with new mercy.
Yeah.
So to say what I think about the whole incident, it was shameful. The murder. Um, I have my other thoughts on it, and I'll send you guys a clip from 1963 because I believe America is great. We live here. I haven't experienced Africa, but I heard that's great. And but I this is what we see every day. America has problems. The foundation of it was built differently. It was built on murder. It was built on killing. So we can never get away from that. And I think it keeps rising up because it's in the
Wow.
DNA of us.
Wow.
And if something's in the DNA of you, that's like when you adopt a child. Oh, the child is beautiful, this, that, another, but you don't know what's in the DNA of that child.
Yeah.
He might be the same complexion as you, but the DNA of that child was built upon two other people. So the DNA of America is foundation of murder, of killing,
Wow.
of taking. I was watching the history of the Vanderbilts. Wow, they were like wealthy, wealthy, like 1892 billionaires. And you think about where that wealth came from. So when you think about the foundation of America, um, we have to, and as believers, we have to love it. We have to forgive it. We have to forgive it, right? As believers. Gentlemen, am I correct? We have to forgive it so we can get to, because we have to forgive those trespassers. We have to forgive. So,
Okay.
with that being said, um, freedom of speech is being challenged now because I believe someone wants to control the narrative. But if you're going to have freedom of speech, you have to allow me to say what I'm going to say, and I have to allow you to say what you're going to say. And as Bo said, if we might not agree, and just because I don't agree with that doesn't mean I hate you. Does I don't agree with what you're
Right.
saying or what you're doing doesn't mean I dislike you. And that's one of the foundations in church as a believer, as a pastor who has a sheep of people that he's leading. He can't just put someone down because you know that person is living a certain lifestyle. He has to be the example. He has to preach and teach that person in because he's a shepherd. You can't condemn that person because that person might
Right.
might um, fall away. So I think the foundation of this it has to be love. We have to forgive, um, and if you can forgive a person, I think that's the foundation of you getting into where you want to be, which is heaven.
You said some good stuff, sir. Some good stuff. And when you talked about the foundation of America being bloody,
Yeah.
without you didn't say it, but being bloody, I started thinking about soil and how soil, and I think one of the things that the Negro National Spiritual talks about is the blood of the slaughtered, right? And then I started thinking about how God said after Cain murdered Abel, his blood is crying to me from the
Mm,
ground. So it just made me think about how many people's blood is crying from the ground. And so because we're seeing murder, because America sowed murder. And
mhm,
so I started thinking about that, but then I also started thinking about the gunmen and how, um, and just in general, and you started talking about how people now, if we disagree, we see that as hate, but that's not the case, right? But
okay.
part of that is the lack of emotional intelligence, because when you have community, one of the things about growing up in community is community teaches you how to disagree.
Right.
If you think about our families, we had disagreements, but we came back together. But because our culture now, we don't value community, we value individuality. So now we don't have a personal context for handling disagreements. And so instead of responding in a manner that is emotionally intelligent, we lash out.
Yeah. We have a short fuse.
Yeah.
Um, People have created a term, crash out.
Mm,
And crash out is one of the things we see on social media more and more. And then
hmm.
more and more people are filming crash outs
Yeah.
rather than intervening. Stop, chill, chill out. No, people pulling out phones and watching it. So that spirit has just taken over certain communities
Yeah.
because last Friday, King High School, Martin Luther King High School played Cass Tech, two of the top Detroit public schools at Wayne State University. And fellas, they had to call the high school game because, and I'll send you the video, because of a fight. I mean, when you see how many people are fighting, they crash out. But when you zoom in, because I'm always people call me CSI or Law and Order. I'm always trying to detect what's going on. And the foundation of it is two females. It's two females fighting and crashing out. So they had to call the game and then they had to play the next day, Saturday, and only parents can come to the game. Yeah. High school football game. Yeah. Because people are crashing out.
Oh,
And I know that it's a different topic, but just going back
I mean,
to the lack of the ability to say, Bo, I ain't feeling that. I'm not agreeing with you saying. So cool. All right. I just don't agree. All right, we cool, we cool. And leave it alone. No, man, forget you then. It just takes it to the next level where I have to become volatile against you. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
my place of employment, there are a lot of supporters of Donald Trump. I don't even talk about politics based upon who I am, my belief system. Sometimes I feel it as a joke, or let's see what Petway gonna say. They'll ask me something, in the midst of their conversation as I come through, and I answer it because I understand my assignment, truthfully and based upon biblical foundations. Oh yeah, that's Petway. That's Petway. Um, so people are always trying to poke you to try to see what they can get about you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think that um, it's just the way uh, I believe people, especially since we're all believers, I don't think people have um, really uh, reinforced their root
Hmm.
in Christ.
Hmm.
Study it, study.
And so they operate from such a way because when we talk about foundations, because they don't really have their foundation shaky in God.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so to me, this is just symptomatic or a product of just something that has just been slowly being chipped away over the years. And here we are. And I don't think people are just taking a step back to see the larger picture
Yeah.
of what's really happening, you know, the undercurrents that are taking place, or maybe even the powers that be who are pulling strings to cause things to happen. Um, when we start talking about politics, that was, anybody who knows me knows there was a point in time in my life where I was deeply embedded in the political arena. And until I realized that, in my opinion, it's a game. It's two wings of the same bird.
Yeah.
And what made me realize that was there was two particular times, or I mean, one time for each, where Republicans had control of the entire Congress, Democrats had control of the entire Congress, which means you can push through whatever you want to, and you didn't do it.
Nothing.
So you see what I'm saying? So
Right.
what that tells me is there are conversations happening behind the
Above.
scenes,
Yeah.
right? While we're out here fussing, fighting,
Hmm.
losing people, blocking friendships over people they don't even really know. You defending people you ain't never had conversation with, you ain't had
Yeah.
coffee with,
Yeah.
you ain't even shared a text message with this person, and you're defending this person
Right.
with to the death of
To the death.
friendships and
Right.
even marriages. That's ridiculous to me. And so, I
That's the
pulled
system.
myself out of that. I pulled myself out of that. And I don't, I see it, I try to do my duty as a citizen to vote as best I can. But I don't think people are realizing what's happening because they're so deeply embedded in the conversation that they can't rise above it to see what's really happening um, with that. And it could be very dangerous,
Yeah.
Yeah.
position
It
that
can
we
it
could be
can
going into.
start
It's a
it can
powder
start
keg,
very
you know what
dangerous.
I'm saying? So
Very
it's,
dangerous. Yeah, you're
so,
shaping
you know what
people's
I'm saying?
minds, you're shaping kids' minds, you're
Yeah.
shaping movements, you're shaping people to react volatile towards something based upon, a thought that's being pushed. So the interesting thing is, gentlemen, let's see how long this lasts because we had the Hawaii fires. We had the California fires. Whatever's relevant, I think they put it in front of us for a certain period of time. So let's see how long this narrative lasts in our
Yeah.
media. Because believe it or not, people don't realize that media controls everything that we see, what we think. They shape your opinions. I sent something to you guys is about I don't know the technical term of it, but if you can break a story first, whatever you put out about that story, it will last longer and be more real to the viewers rather than everything that comes after it, even though what you said might be a lie because they saw it first.
It sounds similar to, I don't know if it's the same, but
PR time.
the a PR time, but I was thinking about the law first mentioned.
Yep, that's what it is. That was it. The law first.
Okay. Okay. Now I
There you
know,
go.
Bo, you got to wrap this up, but I was just thinking, Petway, you just mentioned about social media. I think this is one of the things that we all have to do, and this is I think it's spiritual, but I also think it's psychological in terms of mental health, is that you have to censor how much of this stuff you take in.
Oh yeah, you got
And
to.
I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not so familiar with Charlie Kirk, because I censor how much news I watch. Now I need to be aware, but I can't digest MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all that all day long. That's unhealthy, and it's counterproductive for me. It's unhealthy for me. So I think that is necessary to
Yeah.
sense how much of that stuff you take in.
And then your timeline is probably mental health, leadership, what you look at, other people who view that stuff. Like since I've kind of dived into it, fellas, I have more of that popping up and I have to block stuff. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But yeah, based upon what your views are.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts, fellas?
No, you got it,
Let's
Professor.
pray. Let's pray. That's all we can do. Let's pray for America.
Yeah, yeah.
This concludes the first episode of season 4 of The Lifeline with your host, Barry J. Elliott, Lindsberg Petway, and yours truly, Bo Powell. Don't forget to check us out at www.simplybje.com/The Lifeline and on social media. Look, we're on a mission. We want to bring light and life into your household, so join us and let us hear your feedback because it's all about bringing life to you on The Lifeline. Y'all take care.
Thank you for listening to today's episode with host, business expert, and life coach Bo Powell, social media influencer and entrepreneur Lindsberg Petway, and leadership coach and mental health advocate Barry J. Elliott. Join us next week for another impactful conversation on The Lifeline. God bless.